Let's take a look at this now. The Congress of South African Trade Unions has spoken tough against the Finance Minister Enoch Godongwana's proposed austerity measures. The Union Federation marched to Treasury offices yesterday as part of International Day of Decent Work. It called on the ANC not to consider the Finance Minister's position following next year's elections or in light of next year's elections. We speak to Matthew Parks, COSATU Spokesperson. Matthew, thank you very much for your time this morning. And so essentially, what is at the heart of your contention with National Treasury?
Good morning. Thanks for having us. So look, we appreciate the fiscal pressures facing government. We don't want to see government collapse because that would not benefit workers who work for government, would not benefit society at large and so forth. But I think for us it's about finding the right solution, the right medication for the correct problem. Treasury seems to believe that our sole problem as a country is our debt to GDP ratio. And yes, we agree the debt must be managed tightly, mustn't get out of control. And they seem to think that if you pickpocket what you pay nurses or police officers, somehow everything else will miraculously resolve itself. And I think for us that's a dangerous delusion. We have to fix the fundamental obstacles to growing the economy. So that is making sure that we have reliable and affordable electricity. So let's give Eskom all the support it requires. It means we must fix and intervene drastically at Transnet, because that is key to the mining, manufacturing, agricultural sectors, which is key to generating tax revenue for the state and foreign exchange for the economy and so on. Similarly, we must fix other keys to our enterprises like Metro Rail, SABC, Denel. We must fix many of our dysfunctional municipalities too, because this has caused companies to close in rural towns. We also need to see how we stimulate the economy. So the Treasury proposal to freeze infrastructure expenditure when roads are fraying, when water infrastructure is dilapidated, makes no sense. We're not saying we must spend recklessly, but we must spend in a smart way. And of course, colleagues might say, well, where do you find the money for your long wish list? Simple thing for us is to enforce tax compliance. Under the current management of the South African Revenue Service, we've managed to increase tax compliance in the past year from 61 to 64%. That has helped to increase tax revenue collection by about 94 billion rand. So our approach is simply to say we should give SARS the resources it requires to increase tax compliance to 70%. So that can bring on board additional 120 billion rand of revenue that's already due to the state. But the approach of taking a shortcut, giving a patient a Panado because the pain is sore and you don't fix the fundamental issue, which is a broken arm or broken leg or cancer, that for us is very dangerous. In 2020, the previous Minister of Finance imposed a wage freeze in the public service, and since that time below inflation increases. Yet the fiscal situation has gotten worse because the wage was not the issue. The issue is collapsing Eskom or Transnet or Metro Rail, a stagnant economy, of 42% unemployment rate. So we've got to do the hard issues if we're really to turn society around. But simply applying a plaster to a gaping wound is medical malpractice and political suicide for us.
And that gaping wound is further exacerbated, it would appear, from the outside looking in, and please do guide me on this. Another day, another COSATU march. You have the ear of the king, being the ANC, who is your alliance partner. And so if they are not listening to you, that is an alliance partner, that you have so much, or rather such close proximity, what then is the effect of these marches that we see? What is the effect of COSATU coming on television on a Saturday morning and speaking about issues that South Africans are aware of, right? But you who have the ear of the king, even yourself, you're not able to make an impact. And so what is it that South Africans should read into this?
Yeah, look, so we appreciate we live in a democracy, and COSATU, for example, is not a political party. We don't run government as much as we might be tempted to want to do at times. So we appreciate a democracy. You have to raise an issue, you have to push them all the time. It's a conversation, it's a journey. Unfortunately, we're not in a society or a country where the state is very efficient, perhaps like a China or Singapore, where the leadership makes a decision and then it's implemented immediately. But in reality, we have a lot of issues. We have to keep pushing. We could take a point that says, well, the struggle is too difficult, just give up. And of course, we can't afford to do that when you have an unemployment rate of 42%, when you have a stagnant economy of issues of corruption and so forth. But I think for us, it's worthwhile pushing because at times it is frustrating. We also get frustrated. But we can see progress too. During COVID-19, when we went through the 2 years of economic lockdown, the government wanted to close the unemployment insurance fund relief to the economy at about 30 billion rand. We had to keep pushing it because we were still on various stages of lockdown where some workers couldn't work. At the end of the day, our efforts, our temper tantrums and so forth, some harsh words we had with the government colleagues on a Saturday night and so on, it yielded positive results because we managed to release 64 billion rand, helping 5.7 million workers who were not receiving wages or less than normal. We managed that during that time, engaging with the president, with colleagues in government and treasury and so on, to ensure the SOD grant remained. It's a foundation for basic income grant, and it's given with all of its many issues, has provided a lifeline to 8.8 million people who have no source of income otherwise. It's been money stimulating the economy. At times it is frustrating. We would love simply just to issue a statement to the ANC and see it being implemented the next day. But we appreciate we're in a contested society. Even the ANC stuff was contested. But we can point to many achievements. To have a minimum wage, for example, that was something discussed since 1955. It came into effect in 2019. Again, not perfect, but it's helped to raise the wages of 6 million workers, especially farm and domestic workers, construction workers, and so on. Again, there's issues with it around implementation and compliance and so on. But I think the point is that at times it's easy to get frustrated in the daily kind of struggles. But if you take a step back, at times you can see progress. And of course, progress only comes about if you continue to push. You push government, you push employers. We even have to push ourselves too, because we're also part of the equation of resolving society's challenges. For example, the march in Tshwane yesterday is a response to the real crisis of the municipality there, where workers are frustrated that for 2 years the DA-led administration has refused to honor signed wage increases, plunging these workers into real poverty. And when workers have not had their views listened to by the municipality, they've gone on strike. Unfortunately, some of them have been unprotected strikes, so that's exposed them to being dismissed. But we're intervening there to try to see, between SAMU and COGTA and SALGA and even the municipality, how to resolve it. If we don't intervene in these issues, we don't put pressure through marches and statements and Saturday morning discussions, etc., you won't see progress. People need to hear voices, to know there's an issue, and also to hear what are the possible solutions to it.
Okay, fair enough. We understand that the Mayor of Tshwane, Celia Brink, had to be whisked away by security yesterday during the march. Is this something that you're aware of? What happened?
Well, yeah, I mean, look, we've got different conflicting reports. I think leave aside the heated emotions of a particular moment in time, the fundamental issues we have to resolve the Tshwane crisis is quite worrying. It's worrying that, for 2 years a municipality can choose to renege a signed wage agreement, because it tells workers that when they raise issues, when they sign compromise wage agreements, and they always involve compromises on all sides, that the mayor or the municipality might just choose to walk away. So that makes workers ask, so what's the point of negotiating? Do you have a partner who you can negotiate in good faith with and compromise? It's quite worrying that a mayor chooses to fire people who then express their discontent. At the same time, some municipal workers unions trying to resolve the issues, trying to see how can you negotiate it. But it doesn't help when one party just chooses to take a reckless bull in a China shop approach and refuses to negotiate and instead responds by dismissing people. These workers are human beings. They are mothers and fathers. They've got responsibilities. They provide a valuable service. And unless we find a way to resolve this issue in a win-win approach, it's going to be difficult for the municipality to provide the basic services that communities across Tshwane depend upon. That's something we can't afford. There's also why you find workers and unions are very passionate in defending public services, because they see the value of the work they provide to communities, especially poor communities. They want to do the work, but at the same time they also have responsibility to pay home loans, other debt, etc., to provide food for the children. And it's not going to motivate them if they feel that their employer is pickpocketing them. At the same time, it's been quite shocking that councillors have received increases, yet they're denying the very same comfort to municipal workers. So we hope it can be resolved, but we do think that COGTA and SALGA need to be a bit more assertive, because if they allow one municipality to misbehave, why shouldn't the other 258 municipalities follow suit? And that's going to be a recipe for chaos, for labour market stability, for service delivery across our communities, especially poor areas. And we really need to see leadership also assisting the unions to try to resolve this matter in a win-win solution.
Okay. Matthew Parks, thank you very much for your time this morning. He speaks for COSATU.